Hi everyone, so today we're going to talk about 3.4 applications of set theory, and as you can see I have a lovely yellow font here because my printer is out of black ink. So nice, love that. We're going to focus on making 3 circle Venn diagrams, and then we'll talk about some other stuff. The first thing I want to cover is this principle of exclusion and inclusion. So it's a really long formula, but it basically just says the union of 3 things is where we take the 3 things we want to talk about, we add them all up, but because there's some overlap, we have to subtract those overlap parts. And when you subtract 3 of those overlap parts, you actually end up subtracting too much and you have to add back the intersection. Now, I want you to know that this is here and that's a thing, but we're going to make Venn diagrams for the most part because it's a lot easier to visualize it and see why things are happening in a Venn diagram compared to this crazy formula. So that's there, we're just going to leave it there and we'll try this. Now there's a typo right here that says 28, but really it should say 29, and the wording of this question is very slightly different than the one I have uploaded on our Weebly. There's a couple onlys in here that aren't in the one that I have uploaded. I don't know how those changes happened. It's like a ghost came in and changed some of my stuff, but don't know, we'll just roll with it. Alright, first things first, we're going to make a Venn diagram, and the first thing I need with a Venn diagram is I need a box. So here's my beautiful box for my Venn diagram. I'm going to kind of make an assumption here that I have these 3 circles and that they're going to overlap a bit. Typically they will. So dog, cat, bird, and let's call the whole thing universal. Alrighty, so we have this little list of clues to help us out, and I find typically the most helpful clue is at the bottom. That's certainly not always the case, but I often find it is. The one I'm looking for is the one that will tell me right in the middle there what goes there. So one student has all 3, that person goes right in the middle. Apparently they're like animals. I'm going to put a little check mark there. Oops. Put a little check mark there. I've done that clue. Alright, next clue. 2 students have a cat and a bird. So cat and bird, that's this weird little oval shape that we're talking about right here. And 2 should be in this oval shape. But you notice there's already a 1 in there. We've already counted 1 person. So I don't want to double count that person. So I'm going to say 2 minus 1 is 1. And now you'll notice I have 2 people in this area. So that's what we want, which is great. Okay, next, this is a little different. The wording is different here. 3 students have only a dog and a bird. So dog and bird is this area here, but this time it says only, as in these 3 people do not also have a cat. They only have a dog and a bird. So I don't subtract here because of that word only. It changes things. It's going to be similar for this next clue too, actually. 4 students have only a dog and a cat. So dog and cat is this area right here. And because they said only, I'm just going to straight up put a 4 right in here. That person doesn't also have a bird. So that only kind of changes things quite a bit. All right, let's keep going. 13 students have a bird. So bird right here. This whole circle should be 13. So some of them just have a bird or only have a bird, and some of them have birds and dogs or cats. I don't know. So this whole circle, if you can visualize this one bird circle, should add up to 13. Right now it's 5. So I think I need another 8 to make it 13. 13 students have a cat. Okay, here we go. Same idea. This circle should add up to 13. Right now it's 6. So I think I need 7 more to go. Great. 13 students have a dog. Here we go. So dog over here. We're at 8. I need another 5 to get me there. Great. And lastly, 29 students have a dog, a cat, or a bird. So that or, remember that means union, which means all of it. So all of these numbers together should add up to 29. I'm going to use my calculator real quick just to make sure. It's always good to check. Yeah, nice, 29. And it doesn't say that anybody doesn't have any, and there's no other clue that tells me that there should be some number outside of here, so I'm going to leave it. Sometimes there is a number we should put outside, like these people don't have any pets, or they have like reptiles instead, I don't know. So sometimes there's numbers here, sometimes there isn't. Now here's the question, and some people sometimes, we make the Venn diagram, then we forget to answer the question. So let's give that a shot. Determining how many children have a dog or a cat. So there's that word or, again, that's union, which means they have a dog or a cat or a dog and a cat or a dog and a cat and something else, I don't know. So when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at cat, I'm looking at dog, oops, sorry, that's bird. I'm looking at dog and I'm looking at everything in here. So a dog or a cat, I'm going to add 5 plus 4 plus 7 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1. I'm going to add up all of those numbers because that's what union means. It's everything in those two things. So let's see where we're at here. Let me use my calculator. Honestly, I'm quite tired today. 21 people have one of those things or two of those things or two of those things and a bird. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Okay? Alrighty. Flip to the next side here and we'll see what we have next. This is a really good question. We're just going to leave that one for a second. We'll do this one first. Alrighty. So, this is a specific outcome from your curriculum. It's kind of I'm going to lead you through this example type of one. It's not one that I really expect you to come up with on your own. And I'm going to try and draw this kind of complicated Venn diagram, but there's a much nicer one in your textbook. So please take a look at that if this doesn't make a ton of sense. They have a whole explanation in there as well. Okay, so Kira and Allie are working on a project for World Issues. They're using the internet to gather information. They have decided to do their project on pop culture. Explain how they can refine their Google search using a Venn diagram. Okay. First step, Venn diagram box. I'm going to call it U. Now, what is U in terms of Google searching? I would say, in terms of Google searching, U would be the universal set. It's all sites on the internet, which is certainly not all helpful for our project. So all sites on the internet, which, yeah, that's a lot. So if we were just to say hey, I'm feeling lucky, give me anything, we'd probably get something crazy. Not helpful. So then they're thinking, okay, maybe we should Google popular culture. Now, when you Google popular culture, what it actually Googles is the word popular, and it Googles the word culture, and it spits out anything that has popular or culture in it, or popular culture, and it just gives you everything. So sometimes it'll say, do you have to include culture? And you're like, yeah, I really want the culture part. So that's going to be our first one. Let's just call it R for fun. All sites containing popular, I'm going to put this in quotation marks, and culture. So we're just Googling popular culture. We're going to see what pops up. It's going to be anything that has to do with popular or culture or both. It's basically the union of those two things. Now, if you are a good searcher, and hopefully someone has helped you learn how to search on a library database, one way to narrow down your results a little bit are to put quotation marks around popular culture. So let's give me our next one. Let's call it P. Sites with the phrase. So you kind of make it more into a phrase rather than two separate words. Sites with the phrase. And this time it's in quotations together, popular culture. So it won't just give you popular stuff, and it won't just give you culture stuff. It will only give you popular culture together stuff. So for example, if I was Googling the War of 1812, if I put the War of 1812 just straight up into Google, it will give me stuff about wars, it will give me stuff about 1812, and it'll give me the stuff I really want. So what I might do is I might put little quotation marks starting at the war and ending at the 1812, like put the quotation marks around it, so it only gives me stuff that says the War of 1812. So not just any war, but specifically that one. Maybe we should start making our Venn diagram here. Okay, so R, I'm going to make it kind of this weird oval thing. Let's call that R. Now inside of R, there's going to be P, and certainly all the things that are just popular culture are inside of popular and culture. Let's go a little further, and I can tell I'm going to run out of space right here because I've been writing too big, but here we go. Let's say they decide, you know what, this is way too much stuff. We have to narrow this down a little bit more. So they're going to say, let's make this specific about TV in popular culture. So this is me adding to the question here. This is not something that you would have known just off the top of your head. This is me kind of guiding you through a question. Let's call V all sites about television. Because that's definitely a popular culture topic. So all about like all television, and that would probably include like news and maybe even some small documentaries and some movies that are on television, which is probably not super helpful. So let's narrow it down just a tiny bit more, and let's say T, all sites about, I'm going to put this one in quotation marks again here, television shows. So they put popular culture in quotations, and then next to that they put television shows in quotation marks. And then let's just try and finish off our Venn diagram here. So there's certainly going to be some overlap between television and this popular culture stuff. There's going to be some stuff that that doesn't overlap, like documentaries wouldn't really be popular culture, and news really wouldn't be popular culture. So let's call this V over here, where that's just television stuff. And then inside of that television, there's television shows. And television shows, I think, would definitely fall inside of popular culture. So inside of both of those things, that's our T. And if we search this nicely in Google, we're going to get a much smaller subset of stuff rather than the whole of Google coming back to us. Searching on the internet for what you want to do research, it's truly an art. And librarians are miracle workers. So if you ever have a chance, ask them, how do I search really well? Because that will save you so much time on all your research for things. It's nuts. All right. So let's leave that, and let's try one more three-parter Venn diagram here, just to kind of change topics. And then I have an old exam question for you, and a little game we could play, and that'll be it for today. So, City Winnipeg is looking to start a new campaign that will encourage people to use green transportation. They survey 750 people to figure out what they're using. Alright, so here's a bunch of clues that I'm going to have to use to figure out this Venn diagram. I'm going to make my box to begin with. That should just be second nature at this point. I'm going to call it U for universal. See, this is everything. I'm going to throw my 3 circles in here. And I could probably reasonably assume that there's going to be some overlap in between here. Okay, so I'm going to use full words just so that bike and bus don't look like the same thing. And then there's walking. Just so I don't mess it up, because I often do. Okay, so what I'm going to look for, now normally I would use the last one in the line here, but what I really want to find is the one that says they do this and this. And this, like they do all 3. So let's take a moment here and just search through this a little bit. Which one says they do this and this and this? It's often one of the smaller numbers here too. 20 people, walking, bike, bus. Okay, 20 people. I'm gonna put that goes right in the middle because they do all 3. All right. The other ones that are easy are the ones that say this and this. So they do two things. The ors are harder to do because they include more numbers. So let's look for the other ones that say and. Like this one, 35, walking and biking. Walking and biking, that's this area in here. But we've already counted 20 of those people. So what goes in this little space right here? Well, 35 minus 20, which is 15. Okay, another and right here. 80 people reported walking and bus. So walking and bus, 80 people. We've already counted 20, so there's 60 people left, and we're flying. Okay, one more. 100 bike and bus. 100 bike and bus, exact same concept. We're going to subtract. We've got 80 people left. Great. Okay, now the ors really are harder to do, so I try to leave those as long as I can. Let's take a look at this first clue. 370 people reported using the bus. So here's our circle for bus. That circle should add up to 370. It certainly doesn't yet, but I have one space that's kind of left that I could figure out what goes there. So 140, 160, I think I need 210 left over here so that this bus circle adds up to 370 people, which hopefully it now does. I'm going to put a little question, check mark. Okay, now let's try those ors because I think we're down to them. 445 people reported walking, or sorry, not walking, bike or bus. Okay, bike or bus is all of these numbers. So all of these numbers and this one should add up to 445. So I'm going to really quickly add them up and subtract 445 minus all of these guys to see what that should be. I think it should be 60. So that all of these numbers here add up to 445. Last one. 265, walking or biking. So it's over here. Walking or biking, that's all of those numbers, and they should all add up to 265, which not quite. I think we need another 30 to make it add up to 265. And then I'm done with that clue. Now, there's one more clue that I haven't used, and you can't even see it on my screen right now. The last clue, it's kind of hidden in the wording, is that there's 750 people. So does this add up to 750? I don't think so. I think this adds up to 475, which is certainly not 750. So there's some people who do something else, like maybe they drive. Yeah, probably drive, right? So I went 750 minus all of these numbers, which was 475, and I got 275. So 275 get to work some other way. They're not using green transportation. They're not even carpooling. They're just going by themselves. Okay, now let's make sure we actually answer the question. Determine how many people use green transportation. So biking, busing, and walking is green. That means they use any one of these things, or maybe they use more than one or whatever. So I'm going to add up all these numbers, and I just did that, which is nice. So I would say 475 people. So this is kind of like my work, and then this is my answer, and I have to make sure I actually answer the question, because I feel like some people just forget to do that sometimes. It's so silly. Alrighty, so that's another three-parter Venn diagram. Not a bad one by any means. Okay, I lied. I took out the little game, but it's in your textbook if you want to take a look. By game, I mean like math activity, not real game. So it's not very exciting, to be honest with you. Okay, so this is one more Venn diagram. Pause if you want to just try this on your own for a quick sec. I just added it in here because it's just good practice. Okay, I got some clues. I'm just going to make myself a Venn diagram. This time it's only a two-parter Venn diagram. Country, pop, universal. These Venn diagrams should be pretty boring at this point. Like, it's pretty repetitive, right? It's the same every time. Okay, let's look at the clues. This time, there's no one that says they use all three, or sorry, all two. So that's something a little bit different here, and the clues that we're going to get are going to vary every time. Sometimes they're a lot like that last one where we kind of build from the middle out, and sometimes they're a little bit more like this, where we have to be a little bit more inventive with our thinking. So there's one clue that I can put on here right away that I can see, and that's this last clue. 2 said they don't listen to either of those things. They listen to like, I keep thinking pop, but no, they keep listening to like rock or like blues or hip hop or something. I don't know. So those 2 people go outside. They don't belong in those 2 circles in there. They belong outside because they're not included in those groups. Now, I'm going to have to figure out how many of this intersection piece is, because that piece is really important to be able to find everything else out. So let's think about this a little critically. If I have 28 people and 2 of them don't listen to anything, then how many people should be inside of here? Well, 28 minus 2 is 26. So this should be 26 people. But let's look at the clues. 12 and 18, what does 12 and 18 add up to? 30. How could I have 30 responses but only 26 people? I'm going to call this responses. Well, that means that some people like more than one thing, which is kind of what I expected, because that's why I drew it like this. So how many more people, how many more responses, how many people have double like something or like 2 things? Well, 30 minus 26 is 4 double counters. Double counters, as if that's a real word. 4 goes in the middle of these 2 things. There's 4 people who like both pop and country. All right, now let's just fill the rest of this out. We did the hard part already. If 12 people say they like country, well, 12 minus the 4 we've already counted, there are 8 people left. Doesn't really look like an 8, does it? 18 people say they like pop. Well, 18 minus the 4 we've already counted, 14 people. And hopefully, I think I'm done here, but hopefully when I add up all these numbers, it should add up to 28 people. Let's just double check. 12, 14, that's 26, 28. Beautiful. Now this is my work. I still have to actually answer the question, so let's do that. I'm just going to put a little arrow, like this is me answering it. Determine the number of students who only listen to pop. So only pop. This whole thing is pop, but some of those people also like country. So only pop, 14 people. All right. So that's, a slightly different version of a Venn diagram and the clues you could get. And you'll definitely see more variations in this. Here are some homework questions out of your textbook. Give them a shot. Take a look through the examples because they also explain them, and they kind of like talk through the examples. So make sure you take a look at that if you're not super sure what I'm talking about, or send me an email if you're not sure. Okay, bye-bye.